but we have a major case that we're going to be discussing. We covered this way back at the end of April, early May, or something like that. Mica Miller. And the case was investigated and wrapped up really quickly. It involves Pastor J.P. Miller, who is a pastor of a mid-sized to larger scale church that he was overseeing. It was alleged that he had committed various acts of domestic violence against Mica. Matter of fact, Mica's family has introduced a list that was compiled of all of the journal entries, stories that she's told, videos that she's taken, that details all of the abuse that she had suffered at the hands of J.P. Miller. And of course, all of those were allegations. They've never been proven, but a lot of it is documented on video and is out there on the internet for all to see. There was allegations of tracking devices. There is a theory that J.P. Miller had coercively led Miss Miller down a road that led to her ultimate demise. Very famously, she drove to a national park, made a 911 phone call that some have speculated was generated by AI, and unalived herself. There's witnesses that came forward that explained what they heard. There was a couple of witnesses. They mentioned that they heard a female crying, and then a gunshot, and then that was it. There's been from the family statements that have been made attacking the facts that are known regarding the Miller case. And when we left off, it was with the knowledge that, well, I mean, they wrapped it up. They've determined that Miller ended her own life. They have her on surveillance camera, driving by herself, purchasing a gun from a sporting goods store, driving to this national forest, going to make the 911 call. And shortly thereafter, they found her body and they just wrapped it up. J.P. Miller, it was said that he had rushed to try to have her cremated. He also gave statements such as he tried to bring her back to life in recent interviews. He just did an interview with News Nation. That was the latest piece of information that dropped, and it was really kind of the stupidest thing he could have done if he was trying to quell the hints of people trying to say that he was responsible for Miller's death. My personal opinion, this guy is a pastor of a church that has hundreds of members, presumably. I don't know how many members they have. There was some allegations that he was involved in inappropriate sexual contact with underage members of that church. It was brought to the church's attention. He was asked to step down according to the bylaws of the church, and rather than own up to what he did, outright refused to step down as the pastor of that church, citing the old bylaws, basically stating that I have full autonomous authority and I'm not going anywhere. From my understanding, it's been alleged that all of the members at that time left, and then he went on in the process of trying to recruit new members, and he's been the pastor ever since. I don't know J.P. Miller. I don't know enough of him to form a relevant opinion, but my irrelevant opinion, based on my lack of knowledge and based on only things that I've seen in the media and read about him regarding the allegations, is the guy is nuts. Kind of a creep. Now, hey, he might be delightful. He might just be, whatever, salt of the earth kind of guy. And he just found himself in a jackpot by what he alleges is the victim. Maybe he is the victim of his wife's mental illnesses. And maybe he was the patron saint of trying to get her help. And maybe it really was Mica Miller's family that is responsible for all of this. As not even allegedly, as he outright said in his News Nation interview, he said those things. 100% he did. But people seem to be thinking differently, myself being one of them. It's come to light in the coming months that Mica Miller may or may not have been having a relationship with one of the churchgoers. And there was an interrogation that is just absolutely bizarre. And I'm going to play it simply for the fact that I believe that the guy was unhinged. My personal opinion, I believe he was unhinged. He's talking to this guy and he's saying, so tell me what you did. And where did you touch her? And where did she touch you? And how did you guys kiss? And whose idea was it? And he's talking about discernment and all of these religious ideologues trying to get this guy to repent. And this guy, being a follower in that church and presumably a follower of the pastor J.P. Miller, was very deferential and just basically not really sticking up for himself or putting up much of a fight at all and going along with it. It's all very bizarre.
Like nowhere below reproach. I mean, that's.
So the guy speaking in vocal fry is a church member that was a member of the church in which J.P. Miller is the pastor, basically the main guy over there. And this is Miller. This is J.P. confronting this guy, and it's a really hard listen because you want this guy to stick up for himself, and he just kind of goes along with it. You'll see.
It's a promise.
Well, the person that saw and got the picture said that you touched her chest.
I didn't. I mean, like, we kissed, so maybe like her face, neck, but I promise you that nothing below the neck, chest.
And she touched you where?
Just the same place, like my face and like my chest.
My guy said there was more than that.
More than what?
More than what you're telling me.
Well, I'm telling you, if you have the videos and the pictures, you can fact check it.
I mean, he'll have them to me by morning time. But he told me there was more than that.
Well, that is.
Just for context, folks, at this point, JP and Mica were not together. They were separated. And this guy, JP, is asking for a play-by-play of an encounter that he was seen by a private investigator having with Mica. And this is the questioning. So their relationship is basically over. They're headed very rapidly for a divorce. And JP is continuing to obsess over these details in just the creepiest way you could think of. This is obsessive behavior on any level. And this is in the weeks leading up to Miller's death.
That is exactly what happened. There was nothing more than kissing. Nothing more. I promise you that. And then you'll see that.
He said that both of y'all touched each other inappropriately.
No.
As a result, DJ the employee was fired, as mentioned in this sermon by John Paul Miller.
I had somebody on my staff, a young person that I had to let go. I said, listen, I don't want you doing this anymore. This is something that I don't think is right. I want you to stop. And they looked at me and they said this, well, God's my ultimate authority. I said, what did you just say to me? They said, well, if God tells me I can do it, then I can do it. I said, you work for me. They said, God's my, I said, you know what? Get God to sign your paycheck for you because you're fired.
What a freaking clown. Jesus Christ.